Hi there and welcome to the History Teacher. This revision video covers Weimar and Nazi Germany from the GCSE Edexcel 9-1 course. Hopefully you'll also find it useful if you're studying any of the other exam boards or if, like me, you just love history. You can now become a member to support me to continue making this content from just £1 a month. Plus you'll get exclusive access to worksheets, revision materials, and you'll get to vote on forthcoming episodes. The link is in the description. Hi there guys, we've already looked at how the Nazis used terror to control the thoughts and actions of the German people. Today we're going to be taking a look at how the Nazis set out to control religious views and how people in the churches attempted to oppose them. Many people in Germany in the 1930s were Christians, and Hitler was acutely aware that this posed a threat to his authority. Christianity taught peace and tolerance, which was a direct opposite of the Nazis' beliefs about strength and violence. In the early part of Hitler's Reich, the Nazis tried to work with the churches, but soon the contradiction of their aims became a problem and Hitler turned on them. 1/3 of German Christians were Catholic. Catholics had an allegiance to the Pope rather than to Hitler, which contradicted his goal of becoming the Führer. Additionally, many Catholic children were educated in Catholic schools, which meant they were not being taught the Nazi curriculum and therefore would not be indoctrinated in the way that kids in Nazi schools were. At first, mainly to secure the vote of the Catholic Centre Party in July 1933, Hitler drew up a Concordat, or agreement, with the Pope. In the Concordat, Hitler promised to allow Catholics to worship freely and allow Catholic schools to continue to teach their own curriculum. However, Hitler did not keep these promises. Catholic priests were increasingly arrested and sent to concentration camps. Catholic schools were closed or forced to teach the Nazi curriculum, and Catholic youth clubs such as the Catholic Youth League were banned. In 1937, the Pope realised that he had been tricked and criticised the Nazi government. At the beginning of the Nazi regime, some Protestants supported the Nazis because they feared a communist uprising and they thought the Nazis would protect them. In 1937, those churches who had supported the Nazis, or at the very least thought it was better to work with them than against them, joined together to become the Reich Church, led by Niemöller, who was appointed the Reich Bishop of Germany. The Reich churches were allowed to continue giving services as long as the pastors supported the Nazis, and some went as far as to display the swastika in church. The Reich Church was not allowed to let Jews convert or be baptized into the church, and Jewish teachings in the Old Testament were deleted from the Bibles. Ultimately, Hitler had tried at first to work with the churches, but this was doomed to fail due to the conflicting natures of Christianity and the Nazis. Hitler put the Nazi stamp on the Christian church using the police state to control the actions and teachings in the church. Germany was increasingly a totalitarian state where the government controlled all aspects of society. However, not every member of the Christian faith stood by while this happened. Some members resisted the changes by speaking out or refusing to participate in Nazi rules, while a few others actively opposed the Nazis and tried to undermine them. This was always dangerous, as the Nazis dealt harshly with opponents. They would not be put off by the religious nature of its opponents, and many religious leaders were beaten and arrested. Despite this, there were some groups for whom their religious beliefs were stronger than the fear the Nazis instilled. One group was known as the Pastors' Emergency League, or the PEL. They were vocal in opposing the joining of Protestant churches into the Reich Church, and they opposed the removal of Jewish texts in the Old Testament and banning conversion for Jews. The group then set up a separate confessing church in 1934. Around 6,000 Protestant pastors joined the new church, and some spoke out against the Nazis. In 1936, the Nazis arrested 800 pastors, including the leaders of the church, and sent them to concentration camps. The confessing church continued throughout the Nazi regime, but without their leaders, they moved their charitable acts underground and helped people in secret. Some Catholic priests also spoke out against the Nazis, but again, in 1935 and 36, the Nazis arrested 400 priests and imprisoned them in the Dachau concentration camp. It was the terror of these attacks that prevented others speaking out. It's clear that some members of the church wanted to act against the Nazis, however, their energy was focused on preventing the Nazis from interfering with the work of the church rather than opposing the Nazis themselves. In reality, there were few members of either of the churches who were willing to openly oppose the Nazis. One example of someone who did act against the Nazis is the Protestant pastor Martin Niemöller. Niemöller became a pastor in 1920 after commanding a U-boat in World War I. During the 1920s, he was a vocal critic of the Weimar Republic, and like many, he thought that Germany needed a single strong leader. He actually voted for the Nazis in the 1924 and 33 elections. However, once the Nazis were in power, he objected to their interference in church business. He was one of the founding members of the PEL and the Confessing Church. He also objected to Jews being forbidden to convert or be baptized, although he did not speak out against any of the other injustices being inflicted on the Jewish people in the 1930s. As a result of his views, Niemöller discovered his phone was being tapped by the Nazis in 1934, and this led to his realization that the Nazis would come for him and they should be stopped. He became more and more outspoken against the Nazis and began using his poem, for which is especially remembered today. First, they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. As a result, he was repeatedly arrested, until finally he was arrested by the Gestapo in 1937 and charged with treasonable statements. In other words, speaking out against Hitler and the Nazis. He was found guilty and in 1938 was sent to a concentration camp. However, he continued to have mixed feelings about the Nazis, even offering to fight for the Nazis in World War II if they released him. He was transferred to Dachau during World War II, where he was released in 1945. Niemöller only admitted to his anti-Semitic views in an interview in 1959, where he said that 8 years in prison had changed his attitude. Okay, that is everything you need to know about the Nazis' policies towards religion and opposition in the churches. Don't forget to check out my website for worksheets and revision guidance. Now for a quick word from my other half, and I will see you next time.
History teacher's SO here. She's given up work and is living off her savings to make these videos full time. Unfortunately, savings don't last forever, so we're asking for your help. If you can spare any money to help her keep making these videos, please visit the Buy Me a Coffee link in the description and give what you can. That said, we know these are difficult times. You might not have any money to spare, but you can still help. Like, comment, and subscribe for the algorithm, but also spread the word. Tell your friends, colleagues, and anyone you think might be interested. Thanks.